Hello, everybody. We will just wait 1 minute more because I see a lot of people who are still connecting and joining. We're expecting 40 people as we start in 1 minute.
Right.
Okay, time to start. So, hello everybody. I am Jean-Marie. I am in charge of EMEA partnership for Chrome, and that's our very first webinar series we want to run on technical topics regarding Chrome. We choose the first topics being grab and go because we got a lot of feedback from our European partner trying to promote this grab and go solution and having a lot of questions on how to deploy the solution, including the grab and go code we put on GitHub. So how we will do that is Darren from the customer success team will start just making an overview so everybody's on the same page of what we consider is a grab and go program. Then I will just explain how we promote it. And more interesting is after coming, I guess, for you guys all, is we ask a very great partner from the US with the grab and go US team to pitch how they do in the US to deploy this solution as they are really successful with. On that, I let Darren follow you.
Thanks, Jean-Marie. Hi, everybody. Yes, my name is Darren Ryden from the customer success team. What I'm going to do is just take you through just a high-level overview of grab and go. I know many of you have probably seen a couple of slides before, but I just want to make sure everybody's got the same understanding and baseline before we move forward. So the grab and go concept basically is self-service, very easy a loan program for Chromebooks. Okay, so the idea is it's very quick and easy to sign in. Employees can just go and help themselves. It's available 24/7, and you just pick it up and you return it on your own. So it's a very straightforward solution. Okay, this is a solution that we've built at Google a couple of years ago, and we've seen huge success with this, and that's why we've turned it into a concept that we want to share with partners to be able to take to our customers. Okay, so to give you just a bit of background and some of the stats from grab and go at Google, what we've found since launching is that about a third of employees use grab and go every year, which turns into about 240 loans per day. We have a rack in pretty much every office worldwide. About half the loans are due to a true productivity blocker, right? So it could be something, someone's lost a laptop. It could be that they have a problem with their machine. Could be anything, right? Or it could also be the other 50% people that are leveraging it because they know it's there, right? So if they're traveling from one office location to another, then when they go to the second office, they can just pick up a Chromebook that they know they can get from one of the racks and just use it rather than have to carry their own. Okay, so in the first year at Google, we pretty much paid for all of the development, all of the Chromebooks, all of the racks, all of the work and the time invested in it within 2 or 3 months, basically. I think it's under 2 months. Yeah, 50 days it says here. So it was a really, really good value for money investment. But more importantly than that as well, it also just unblocks people, right? So as far as a solution that's in the workplace, it really helps people get on with their day and not be bogged down by any IT issues. A little bit more details on what we've learned since running it. On average, we would say, I think we assume sort of 4 hours of productivity are saved per loan, and we'd say that's kind of on the conservative side, okay? And just to kind of break even in that first year, we only needed each loan to be kind of used for 25 minutes. So, that's turned into an annual saving of theoretically sort of $17 million, right, on non-lost productivity. So that's a really successful program. So not only does it help people, but it also seriously saves the company money as well. Just to sort of step back and just talk about what it actually is and what it is not, right? So Grab and Go was a solution that we built internally at Google that we then wanted to take sort of to the market as a concept, right? So it's not a boxed solution. It's not code that is fully supported that is going to work from day one. It is a solution that we talk about as a concept. We talk about the devices that should be used. So it needs to be simple devices that are durable. Chromebooks are absolutely perfect for this, which is why it works so well. You need to have a way of actually charging all of the devices, making sure that they're in a known position and they're safe. So, modular shelving, we're building charging facilities. The other thing we've learned is that you need to make sure you've got clear signage and people understand how to actually use a device. So, when they pick it up, what do they do? Is it okay to just pick it up? Because some people don't know. What do they do when they finish? How do they return it? That kind of stuff. So we kind of suggest that there are stickers placed on the devices and on the racks as well. And then there's the code as well that comes, that we basically provide, pardon me, as an open source code that is there to use as well. The way we see it, I'll just go back to this slide. The way we see this is that it's not a totally packaged solution, but what is great is that it's a perfect opportunity for partners to take this and turn it into their own solution, and differentiate the offering that you can then take to your customers. Okay. Also, we've seen, so the initial concept for us was just as a loaner program, right, for when your device is broken or you've forgotten it. But we've also seen other people using this for other use cases such as travel as well. And some of our customers have started using the concept for things like shift workers as well, where people take devices and then bring them back, so they're charging and they're in a consistent place. And also some customers are using it as a way where they have sort of Windows laptops and they're trying to introduce Chromebooks. They're using it as a way to introduce Chromebooks to the organization, where if customers and users of the customers like the Chromebook, they borrow them, but then they don't return them. So it can also be used as a way to start introducing Chromebooks to the organization as well. Okay, so that, I think, takes us on to Jean-Marie to talk a little bit about kind of how we can support you from a partner perspective in building these solutions as well.
Thanks, Darren. So, like Darren mentioned, the idea of Grab and Go is it's a great solution to start with customer, because you're not pitching, you will just replace all the existing legacy system at the customer place, but you will add a new value solution for new usage, like shared device. And we want at Google to support partner to promote this Grab and Go. And one of these reasons is what we see is once a customer starts with a Grab and Go solution, we see a better adoption of the Chrome solution after that. So it's a good solution to get a great adoption rate of the Chrome solution within a customer place. So we want to encourage our partner to promote this Grab and Go solution, meaning I insist on that, like Darren say, it's not a Google solution, is a partner solution, which includes a rack, a Chrome license upgrade, but devices and a grab-and-go code or whatever code partner wants to build to fulfill customer requirements. So basically, we can use what we call partner service funding, and I assume all the partners connected here are familiar with this program. So it's program where we can fund for you if there is a customer opportunity, a grab and go as a starter to test it for the customer and to accelerate a larger deal or a larger cloud deal like a G Suite deal. So Darren, if you can just move on to the next slide, thanks. So basically, we target the European customer, G Suite European customer with more than 400 seats, and we can offer the grab and go, the rack, the partner services, and the 10 Chromebooks. We choose the 10 grab and go rack to offer to the customer if they renew their G Suite deal before the end of 2019. This is available for our existing partner, and we will also cover the partner services that you need to deploy the solution within the customer. And I think that is on the next slide, correct, Darren? We will offer the Power Logistic rack, which is now available in all EMEA countries. So it's a rack when you can have 10 or 20 Chromebook. So in the case of our promotion, we will offer the 10 rack, and we will also offer the partner services. So the next slide. So the next slide, which means like we expect the partner will provide deployment, but also guidance, also update with the customer. So to make sure this grab and go is not just a one case promotion, but it's the first step to get a Chromebook adoption within the customer organization. So that's the promotion. That's the reason why we want to help you as a partner. We know there is a lot of questions regarding not only this promotion, but the solution from our partner in Europe. I am proud to say we have more than 30 opportunity in the pipe in Europe, which means like there is a very good traction for this solution. And like there is a lot of question, we decided to offer you the chance to get an introduction of the technical solution by Pete. I see he's just connected. So Pete will now present, and will present also our very great partner in the US who can explain how he has implemented and how he sees his solution for his own customer. If you do have questions, feel free to type your question on the chat so we can answer right away. And on that, it's for you, Pete.
Thanks, Jean-Marie. So I'm Pete Nevin, Customer Success Engineer here at Google, and I've been working a lot with partners and customers in the United States here, deploying grab and go. So I wanted to talk just a little bit about the solution overview and then introduce our partners, Brandon and Dave from Promevo, who are going to talk a little bit about their experience in deploying grab and go. So if just go to the next slide, Darren. So I just wanted to just kind of hit on kind of the major components and some of the skills that implies that you need in order to deploy grab and go, because obviously it's more than just the devices on a shelf. There are multiple components as part of this solution. Obviously, key is Chrome OS devices, which are secure, they're shareable, and the data is in the cloud, as opposed to typically the application data you're using is in the cloud. So that a user can just grab a new device and still have access to all their data. Chrome Enterprise Management, that gives the administrators central management capabilities so they can provide a uniform user experience while using the grab and go devices, similar to maybe if they're using a device in their normal day-to-day use and they're borrowing a grab and go device. This Chrome OS Management allows the user to have the same experience on that device. It assumes that you have, through the admin console, you're going to manage these Chrome devices, and you're going to use a Google or G Suite identity that allows you to log into the device. And that identity is signing into the device with that identity is what checks the device out to a user. So as Darren alluded to the beginning, it's a totally self-service program, so a user can just walk up, grab the device, and the signing in is the action that checks the device out to them, and the user has control over how long they borrow the device. They can manage that through the Chrome app that's on the device. Then central to this, App Engine or GCP is the key backend technology that allows IT administrators to manage the system, configure the system, keep track of devices, and keep track of the shelves that the devices reside on. That gives you global scalability and ease of deployment using App Engine. And BigQuery in the back end as the data store gives you, accessibility to that data anywhere. The final note is, as Jean-Marie and Darren have said, is this is open source code, right? This code belongs to the user. And so the implication of all these things is that there's a certain level of skill in a broad variety of technologies that you need in order to deploy. Obviously, you need to know a lot about Chrome OS and how to deploy Chrome devices using Chrome Enterprise Management Console. You need to know a little bit about G Suite and cloud identity in order to manage your users. App Engine and GCP is a pretty requisite technology. Obviously, it's central to the application, so knowing a lot about GCP is very important. And then the fact that it's open source code, really the users deploying it needs to have a pretty high level of skill and capability in using open source code, programming, application deployment. So I just want to point those things out that we understand that the bar is fairly high on all the types of skills, the both breadth and depth of skills that you need in order to deploy. So I have one more slide just to quick go over kind of how the solution works. So obviously on the loaner device, you have a Chrome app that is installed. We refer to that as the grab and go app. And that's the interface that allows the user to manage their own loan. So they can go in when they sign in, it checks the device out to them. They're immediately presented with an app that allows them to control how long they have the loan, when they want to return the device, and also will collect some survey data if you have it configured to ask the user about their experience. All this is managed through the admin console there. That's how the Google Admin API verifies the user's identity when they sign in. All that data is stored on BigQuery in the back end, going through an App Engine instance. It receives all these requests for login. It's all managed in the cloud. There are cloud endpoints for each of the various calls that are being made by the application. And so what that means is that there is a fairly modular approach to the solution. And so it is possible to customize this code, and we do anticipate that partners will want to take it and make it their own, maybe integrate into an inventory management system, or maybe deploy different types of hardware and make it, integrate it more into the client's system. There's a web front end, a web app that runs in App Engine that allows the IT administrator to configure it and manage the devices, as well as to perform the audits, the routine audits that allow the system to keep track of where the devices actually are. Since these are, self-service, the users are just dropping them back off the shelf. Our system assumes that there's an IT personnel that are routinely and occasionally checking to true up that inventory and make sure that the devices are actually there. So I think that's mainly the points I wanted to hit on, and I want to turn it over to Brandon and Dave over at Promevo, who are one of our key partners that are deploying Grab and Go, and let them give you a little sense of what their experience has been like. Brandon?
Yeah, sure. Hey, thanks a ton, Pete. Appreciate the introduction. Just wanted to say, good afternoon, everyone. Brandon Hampton, Director of Strategic Partnerships here at Promevo. I'm also a part of our Chrome Enterprise deployment team and a certified deployment specialist myself. And I'm also joined by Dave Aulick, who's one of our Chrome Enterprise engineers. And just to speak, briefly about Promevo, I think our journey to utilizing, a grab and go solution internally is a pretty unique one. Now, Promevo as a partner is a pretty unique partner in the the fact that for us being a premier partner, we have internally deployed Chrome enterprise devices. We utilize G Suite as our main collaboration solution internally, as well as we build upon GCP for a lot of internal applications. So just to kind of echo Pete prior to me speaking, you definitely want to make sure that you have a good, solid working knowledge around GCP, and that any customer as well as your organization for additional and future, what we feel to be critical steps to take, that you are utilizing, G Suite internally. But Promevo as an organization, pretty unique path to utilizing Grab and Go internally. And when Google first announced the solution itself, we were like, wow, we were doing this in somewhat of a wonky way through the administration console and through a series of additional policies. And what Google did with the release of the code for Grab and Go was made it that much easier for us as a partner to have a scalable solution in place for our employee population to grab devices, be able to use them on the go, and then return them based upon those policies that we set as administrators. So for us, Grab and Go presented a very unique solution that we could deploy internally, and very easily be able to scale that as our organization continues to grow. Now, for Promevo, here internally, our experience thus far has been absolutely fantastic. For us to drive forward as a partner with internal use, I think that was the first critical step, right? Was grabbing the code, putting the code in the hands of our development team and our engineering team, having them break down, analyze that code, and build upon it. And even as partners, that as you look to implement a strategy to be able to offer this solution to your customer base, I think that's one of the first critical steps to take, is deploying Grab and Go internally. Even if it's not company-wide, having a small pilot, 10, 20, 30 devices deployed internally will allow you to gain the additional experience and knowledge around what it takes to set up Grab and Go, and to learn just how easy and customizable the solution can be for any organization. So I see that really as the first critical key step, is grabbing the code, analyzing the open source code that Google has released, really dissecting it, and then building your own internal Grab and Go solution and deploying that amongst your employee population. For Promevo as a partner, as we continue to kind of spin up a Grab and Go offering, if you will, we connected with the Google team internally to really utilize the partner service funding options that were available to us, as well as to our customer population. For a lot of the organizations that we work with currently today, Grab and Go presents a unique opportunity to introduce and incubate Chrome enterprise solutions within their organization, especially for those customers out there that have standardized on another solution, but they're highly interested in bringing Chrome into the environment, into the workspace for their organization. Grab and Go opens up that opportunity for them, as well as it presents a fantastic, easy, like I mentioned, scalable solution for employees to be able to grab a device while maybe their primary device is being repaired, or maybe they forgot and left their device at home that day, or even providing a very secure solution for those employees that travel and are on the go, like I am, and presenting Chrome enterprise devices. So for Promevo, it's been a fantastic program that we've deployed thus far. When you look at the strategy that we put into place, utilizing PSF's partner service funding, that's there for you to drive with your internal customer base. I think other things that are critical as well too in Promevo and building out a service offering, right, is making sure you have internal resources that you can deploy to help a customer. As I mentioned, Dave Olick, one of our engineers here, he actually leads quite a few of our partner service funding opportunities. And allowing and driving customers and assisting customers in their exploration and deployment of a Grab and Go solution internally. Outside of having the proper resources that are available, I would also say you want to build out key branding resources for customers as well. I believe briefly we saw the Promevo one pager that we had, that we've actually attached to quite a few marketing campaigns that we run here, as well as we've also shared that with our Google Contacts sales representatives internally to be able to distribute to their customers as well. That's one of the various activities that we've executed on the marketing side to really help drive and bring awareness of the Grab and Go solution to our customer base. Now, outside of that, we've also done great things, for example, like built a landing page on our resources site for customers to be able to interact with, as well as we have our own YouTube team internally here at Promevo that's filmed various content for customers as well, so that they can review exactly and learn more about how Grab and Go works. So for us as a partner, there were a couple of key things that we've done to really help drive Grab and Go amongst our customer base, from deploying internally our sales ourselves and utilizing the solution for our employee base, to moving forward and developing, building out the right resources and internal staff and team members, making sure they're properly trained to be able to assist customers, utilizing the partner service funding that's available from Google and helping you drive a few of these opportunities to close. And then lastly, building out the right digital resources and content for your customer base to be able to consume and have a better understanding of what Grab and Go as a solution is, how it can help drive their organization forward in their exploration of Chrome Enterprise, and just how easily it can be deployed and is scalable amongst the population. So from a partner perspective and strategy, I'll kind of leave that there. Dave, I'll kick it over to you. I don't know if you have anything you'd like to chime in and add from a technical perspective.
Yeah, absolutely. So thanks, Brandon. As Brandon mentioned, one of the big things that I did when I first got a hold of the program was I took that and deployed it internally. And one of the most helpful things that I did, just speaking from a technical perspective, is create my own documentation, sort of a checklist, a flow chart as well, having from top to bottom chronological steps and how to deploy this application. Of course, you can put that all in a Google spreadsheet, create your own notes, your documents, and then eventually make that something like your project tracker, so that in the future you can just make copies of that template. You have that and it's reusable. Anything that you come across that is an issue, document it in there. You're going to have that available. From a non-technical perspective, before that, we do a discovery call with the customer beforehand. And we talk about their particular needs, what they would like to see in the applications, most importantly, what their expectations are of what the application does, so that we can align expectations and make sure that we're all on the same page about what the application does when it's deployed in their environment. We additionally, because it's on GCP and it would be hosted in their environment, we do let them know that, hey, there's a cost associated with it, to make sure that they're okay with that. That's covered, by the customer at cost to them each month. Sure, a lot of people are wondering what the cost is. So what we see here internally at our Promebo.com internal deployment is about $135 to $150 a month is what we see. And that cost doesn't fluctuate terribly much. It's not tied to something that's going to go up and down very much.
Correct. And just to kind of drop in on that point as well too, we have, Grab and Go deployed to our entire domain, right? On the core Promebo domain of, folks that operate as part of the engineering and support teams, a part of our core sales teams here. We've got 100 plus employees that could utilize the Grab and Go program. So as Dave mentioned, when it comes to costs are very much stabilized, which I think a lot of customers would appreciate, as compared to a fluctuating cost, right? One that is drastically going to increase or decrease on a month-to-month basis. It makes it pretty hard for them to track and plan out those costs throughout their annual budget. So again, Grab and Go, with it being a very stabilized program from a cost perspective, and then being a very scalable program as well too, right? Allowing a customer to continue to add more and more and more Chrome Enterprise devices throughout their entire domain and organization presents a very unique opportunity for those customers, right? To be able to have a secure, scalable solution at a very minimal cost, and even one that's very flexible, as Pete mentioned as well too, being able to take the code, since it is open source, and being able to mold that code into what works best for their organization, and continuously be able to build upon that code as time goes by, as well as their domain changes, right? So, Grab and Go, as far as the solution goes, internally at Promebo, it's been a very successful solution, in regards to how it's affected our organization and our domain. I mean, we've seen productivity increase anywhere from 25 to 30%. And that's for account managers, that no longer have to go to our support team and request a Chromebook whenever they have an offsite meeting or whenever they need to travel. They can easily walk up to a Grab and Go kiosk station. They can grab a device and head out to their customer meeting for the day, or head to an internal meeting for the day. So it really really definitely has proven itself to be worthwhile inside of the Promebo organization. So that's a little bit about our journey, a little bit about Promebo and who we are. You know, for us as a Chrome Enterprise partner, we definitely feel that Grab and Go as a solution is one that is very viable for an organization of any size. And we would encourage you guys to kind of follow our path. It's been a path that's, you know, led us to great success thus far. So Pete, I'll turn it back over to you.
Thanks, Brandon. Jean-Marie, do we want to open up to questions to the Promebo team as well as to the Google team now? Or do you
Yes.
want to, do you have something to wrap up with?
No, first I would like to get some question if some people got, because I had a lot of questions from partner during the last 2 months, and I am not able to answer those questions, but probably Promebo team, because they went through, are able to answer. So if some partner have a question, please can they? I know there was some question regarding the code, or even from Googlers. If some people have some question, it's a great time in terms of how do we deploy the solution. It's the best time question. So if some people have questions, feel free to take to ask it.
I think we got a first question in the chat and some examples of customer success. I don't know, Brandon, do you want to talk about any specific customers that you've deployed or any success stories there?
Yeah, sure. Just to give you guys a couple of examples, and you know, we're not seeing one specific vertical, right? I typically tend to get that question a lot, right? Like, hey, is there a specific target vertical that Promebo approached or addressed first? But we have seen multiple success stories with customers that have deployed Grab and Go or now are in the process of growing their Grab and Go use cases. And for a lot of customers, like I mentioned in the early phases, it was really about incubation of Chrome Enterprise in their environment, right? We had one customer, unfortunately, I can't name the name of the customer, that, you know, started off with a small deployment of Chrome Enterprise devices inside of their environment. From there, after, you know, kind of looking through the code and working through a few challenges, you know, Promebo was able to help that partner deploy not only from a software perspective, but from a hardware perspective. And the utilization of the program has gone so well that they're now thinking about, and this is a global organization, thinking about expanding it, all because users were able to easily go grab devices and use them on the go within their core or central office location. So it removed the barrier and the roadblock of that employee having to go or submit a ticket back to their IT team, wait 2 to 3 days to have their ticket processed internally, then IT team member responding back, assigning them a device. They had to go pick up said device, go through the process of logging in, et cetera, et cetera. Employees are now able to walk up to one of the many, what we refer to as kiosks or racks, grab a device, be able to utilize that device, and then just turn their device in for repair. So we always look for, you know, prime use cases like that, or any type of challenge or pain point within a customer's organization where employees are experiencing a loss of productivity due to current processes. You know, Grab and Go as a solution itself has helped various organizations overcome that. We've also seen various successes within organizations, again, that are looking to really introduce their employees to Chrome Enterprise as a solution. Maybe that organization has standardized inside of a Windows environment, or maybe has standardized on Mac devices. And they're really very curious about Chrome OS, and they're curious as to how their users would utilize or even take to Chrome devices. And Grab and Go has presented a very unique solution where that organization can, in essence, trial or pilot Chrome Enterprise devices, give them to their users to be able to utilize in their day-to-day tasks, right, on their own, and then be able to gather feedback for those end users, right, or from those end users rather. So we've seen quite a few customers are like, hey, you know, we want to put these Chrome devices into our environment. We want to give users the opportunity to grab a Chrome device and really get a feel and pull back in some of their unbiased feedback without forcing Chrome upon them, and really get a good sense for if Chrome is a viable solution or not. And what we're seeing is extreme popularity and success with that model of allowing the end user to have options and choices. So those are just a few examples of success that we've seen across the various you know, Grab and Go deployments that we've seen thus far.
Thanks. I think we have another question, which is regarding what are the dependency on customer for Grab and Go solution I guess it's from Manoj. Sorry if I say wrongly the name. So meaning what's the dependency in terms of space, I guess the rack and the location, network connectivity, ITSM configuration, and so on.
I can address some of those. I would say, yes, the customer's got to devote some space to this. Obviously, we at Google, we have, basically almost all of our buildings and various locations have some kind of IT, we call it tech stop, but, it's where you go for IT support or to have it, to get a new device or pick up some equipment. And basically at each one of those tech stops, outside the tech stop, typically we have a shelf that has, a dozen devices or so that are plugged in and ready to go. And so you have to devote a little bit of space to that. Network connectivity, we typically see all of our deployments are, Chromebooks, because obviously you can get them charged. They'll run all day on a charge. And so I'd say that, typically there's some Wi-Fi network. Obviously, what type of Wi-Fi network you have, you may need to push those configurations down to the devices. If it's, password or the user, you may have to have the user request a cert or something at login. So the network connectivity, Chrome in general is pretty flexible and can work in a lot of different network architectures. And you just have to make sure that these devices have the same type of, connection to whatever corporate resources you want, as well as to the internet. I mean, I think the key thing is these devices need to talk to the internet in order to get policy from Google servers or to be able to request updates. And then as far as identity, we do rely on, like, as I said, a Google identity or identity in the cloud, so that when the user signs in, it's signing into the admin console. I don't know, Brandon or Dave, you want to add anything to any of that you see at your customers? Any other dependencies?
Not off the top of my head. Let's see, just a firewall dependency for the application itself came up once. And that was about it, but that's easily enough solved with GCP.
Yeah, and then I think we mentioned that, some sort of shelving or something. There are a number of different vendors. We mentioned Powergistics. That's the vendor that Google sources their racks from, and they have a number of build to order sort of suited types of shelves with built-in chargers and things like that. But there are others. Bretford is another manufacturer that manufactures different types of shelves. Some of them with locking doors, and some of them, with built-in chargers, as I said. But there's some different vendors out there that have those.
Correct.
All right, Jean-Marie.
Yes. Do we have other question from partner? I know some of you are working on deploying the solution or trying to understand. Any other question?
I see one question in the chat about most successful verticals, and I think Brandon and Dave did talk to that. I would say again, I don't have liberty to discuss specific customer names, but I do know that we just to give you a flavor, we've done this across various verticals and locations. We've got like an appliance manufacturer in North America that uses it, their headquarters, and has been pretty successful. I know there's a big retailer, a retail conglomerate, like a number of brands of retail in the APAC region that uses it again at their headquarters for knowledge workers to borrow devices when they're traveling. And then we've had a lot of success here I'm located in the Bay Area, so there's a lot of technology and cloud companies, both in entertainment and devices and SaaS solutions and things. So we've had pretty good success deploying to a lot of customers here in the Bay Area, and a lot of that has to do with they already use G Suite, they already use Chrome, they're familiar with those technologies, and so I would say as you are looking at your customer, your client base, and trying to figure out what clients might be most successful, obviously those are all good indicators. Customers that currently use GCP, use G Suite in particular, or have Chrome, those are going to be easier wins than a customer that's tied to Microsoft or legacy technologies, things like that. But that's by no means to say that you can't configure this and use Office 365 or something like that as a temporary loaner. We've definitely had customers with success in that type of use case as well.
Yeah, and just to echo, Pete as well too. I totally agree. We've really seen the biggest adoption across a vertical right now within SaaS organizations, right? Those organizations that are very cloud centric. Those organizations that were born in the cloud. Those organizations that are very Google centric. Upon initially building out and scoping out kind of a game plan for Promevo internally to promote Grab and Go as a solution to our customer base, those were some of the first customers that we initially targeted. And going back and analyzing, the current customers that we worked with, we looked at the organizations that, as Pete mentioned, already had some remnants of a Google environment that was built, right? Whether that was they had, gone through a deployment of Chrome enterprise devices, were already using G Suite or even potentially utilizing GCP. Those are the organizations that are really going to understand the value that a grab and go solution brings to the table, and in particular, the ease of use and scalability that you have through GCP, as well as the collaboration that it brings in, not having a loss of productivity across your G Suite environment if you've already deployed G Suite. So I totally echo, Pete and the findings that they have internally at Google. SaaS organizations right now as a vertical has been by far the most successful vertical that we've seen here at Promevo, though we are seeing customers across multiple verticals that are adopting Grab and Go as a solution.
Yeah, one other use case that I forgot to mention, but we've definitely seen it as a grab and go shelf is a way to distribute devices to like shift workers. And so like in a call center or something like that, where you've got one place where they can go and borrow the device, use the device for the day, and then return it. I think there's another question, I think, about the cost to set up grab and go, and maybe like a level of effort type estimate. And I don't know if Brandon, you guys have some general consensus on like what a typical grab and go deployment takes. I don't know if you want to comment on that.
Yeah, sure. So internally at Promevo, we do, like I mentioned, we have resources that are dedicated, Dave being one of those resources, to help a customer get set up and easily be able to deploy grab and go. Now, the first thing that we did internally at Promevo before we went to market in regards to grab and go with our customer base was built out a service solution, service offering, a bundle, if you will, that included all the services and support that a customer would need. And that goes from the initial discovery conversation and learning more about their driving use case and force behind wanting to investigate and deploy grab and go, all the way up until devices being fully deployed, grab and go as an instance being stood up inside of their GCP environment, and to the point where the customer just needed to buy more devices and continuously enroll them in. Dave can provide more information around the time commitment once you guys kind of get up and operational with your deployment strategy. From a cost perspective, it depends upon the customer's environment, how your internal services are built to bill a customer. On average, we see anywhere from, from a service perspective, anywhere from $3,000 to $5,000, and that's service fee. Now, the cool part is that we do execute and utilize Google Partner Service Funding. That is a program that I highly encourage every single partner on this call today to utilize in their exploration and setting customers up with a grab and go solution, because Google will fund those additional fees and service costs, the cost for Dave basically and his team to get a customer set up inside of a grab and go environment. So from that perspective, that's, kind of the service cost. It depends upon where the customer is in their journey. However, the utilization of the partner service funding opportunities that are available through Google have been key and instrumental for us to be able to, in turn, grant for a customer to utilize. So I would encourage every single partner there. Dave, from a time perspective, what are you seeing in regards to the actual time to go from that initial discovery call to the point where a customer has everything fully built out in their environment and ready to deploy devices?
Sure. So it's going to be kind of a curve. You're going to have a couple in the beginning. They're definitely going to run longer. So after you do enough of them, you can get the time down, shave down, and you have your processes all fully built out. So right now, from the initial discovery call to the end product, if it's just a standard deployment with no extra features requested for development, then doing the code and deploying it as is, running about 7 hours or so. Starting from, again, the discovery calls, writing up the statement of work, getting through the approval processes with PSF, The actual deployment is taking place over two 2-hour sessions and one 1-hour session. And so that is where we're doing the working sessions, time about 5 hours. That's about probably as low as you can get it. I've done a 4.5 one, but I'd expect 5 would be kind of the average for once you have everything ironed out, all of your processes, you're sure you're not going to encounter anything that is going to be a blocker.
Got it. So I think the moral of that story that Dave is bringing to the table is that in less than one working day, you can have a customer fully deployed with the grab and go instance up and operational, right? And that's to the point where all the customer needs to do is grab their Chromebook, power it on, hit Control-Alt-E in Enterprise, and roll that device and drop it into the proper OU so that the policies take for the grab and go solution. So, as we mentioned early on, you guys, may experience a little bit longer of a deployment time in the early initial phase, right? But as you start to work through those deployments and you build out a solution that's very easily replicatable for your team, again, grab and go can be deployed in less than one day.
Cool. Could I just ask one more question that I know I've had asked by partners, so I'm sure it's going to be of interest, which is kind of when you first got started, right, the sort of skills you needed and how much effort was required to take code that Google kind of made available open source and turn it into something that was actually working. Because we know it's not literally just install it and off you go. There's some effort required as well. So maybe you could just talk a little bit about that so people can kind of understand whether it's right for them, right?
Sure. Yeah, so with the code, essentially the documentation is all online. The code is obviously open source as mentioned. So you have also the literal instructions have been written out step by step on the GitHub site as well. So essentially with that, taking that, following it step by step, documenting your own processes along the way that may be slightly different, or making notes here and there about, this bit of the documentation maybe isn't super clear, but you'll get past it. You make a note for the next time you do it. It won't, So essentially, if you can follow the instructions that are there, you have some experience with a command line interface, which either you're a Linux or kind of like a DOS shell type environment, but it's all Linux based on the command line. You're familiar with file system structure as it relates to, again, a command line navigating around in there. Additionally, you're going to need to know some GCP, not too terribly much. Myself, I'm not a programmer. I'm not a developer. I've been able to successfully deploy this probably going on a dozen times now without having to delve into the code too terribly much. I know a little bit of coding, but I'm not a 9-to-5 programmer. And so, again, you just kind of hammer it out at first. Deploy it internally. You're going to come into some, your own issues or what have you. You work past them, document them, and then you'll be good to go. One other thing that I can mention too is that you can provide your own machine, your virtual machine, where you set up the environment as much as possible beforehand, and then you can have customers just clone an image of the machine so that they own it on their GCP instance. And that way they have a instance of it where it has all the dependencies already set up, and that will greatly accelerate the deployment, which is what I'm doing currently.
Cool, thank you.
Do we have other question regarding the code or the deployment from Google or partner? It doesn't look like this.
Alberto asks, clients have to sign the policies. So if the customer realizes they don't need it and don't want the service after a month. So with the projects at GCP, they're essentially pay as you go. All they would have to do at that point is either turn off billing for the actual project, delete the project, what have you. There's no commitment to using it. So it is, since it's on GCP, those are all pretty much just pay as you go. I do want to mention while we're on cost, the Chromebooks do have to be enterprise enrolled for this program to work. And so there will be, the licenses are also needed for the devices as well.
Correct.
And just from my side regarding the promotion, this promotion is linked to a G Suite renewal deal. So it's no more dependency on if the customer stop after 6 months or 1 month. We just give those Chromebooks based on the G Suite renewal deals. So that's the only requirement. Any other question? So I hope I will see a lot of close win within the next month from all the partners who asked a lot during the last 2 months, assuming everything is now clear and ready to go. Okay, Darren, Pete, no more, nothing to add anymore. Can you share the meeting, please? Yes, of course. So that I will say at the end, but of course we will share the deck of this meeting, and you will have on top on the appendix some guidance from Pete on how to deploy your Grab and Go project.
Yep, the deck has a few. I just add the deck has a few technical details, just a list of the API calls and a few other tips and tricks that might help. I didn't think that was you needed that for the presentation, but there's some additional information there that might help.
Okay, I think we don't have any more questions. Well, I would like first to thank a lot Promeo team. Really helpful because in the US you are a little bit more in advance with this solution. So really helpful, and we would love you to come in Europe once and to see a very good Grab and Go deploy in European country, or maybe you to come just to visit.
Sure. Love to.
But thank you very much for your time. Thank you obviously to the Grab and Go team, Sequoia, Pete, and everybody to share and to organize this meeting, and Darren obviously. And thank you all the partners to attend. That's the first of the webinar series. So the next one will be about SAML, and that will be run by Darren Ken in 1 month. I think I will understand less on that one. But feel free to share. Like we run webinar series with Chrome now every month in Europe. Thank you, everybody. Have a great day for the US and a great night for the European guy. And see you all.
Thank you.
Right now.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
T'es resté?
Ouais. Attends pas.
Je crois qu'il y a encore du monde sur la. sur le
Ouais.
Attends, non, mais c'est bon, il n'y a plus que des googlers.
Non, mais il n'y a plus personne qui écoute. C'est que des gens qui n'écoutent pas. C'est pas possible.
Bon, écoute, c'était pas mal. Moi, je trouve que les clients, par rapport à toutes les questions techniques qu'on avait, je m'attendais à ce qu'il y avait plus de questions techniques. J'étais un peu déçu. Mais bon. Ah, ouais, d'accord.
Ouais.
Mais voilà, sinon, c'était bien, non?
Eh ben, écoute, j'ai partiellement suivi. Alors, je vais pas trop te faire mon feedback. Je sais pas trop. Mais c'était bien l'idée, en tout cas.
Bon, bah cool. Bon, bah je te remercie.
Par contre, il faudrait dire à Darren, c'est qui enregistre là? C'est toi ou c'est lui?
C'est Darren.
Et Darren n'est plus dans le call.
Écoute.